Good afternoon. This is Judge Brian Haggerty, Chair of the El Paso Board of Trustees for El Paso Community College. I want to welcome everybody to our Facilities and Finance Committee meeting scheduled for 4 o'clock this afternoon. Anybody wants to find this on audio video feed, it can be found at youtube.com/goepcc. All backup and related materials for the meeting can be accessed at the following link: epcc.edu/administration/board of trustees. Again, I want to welcome everybody. Pam, can you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mrs. Robles. Mr. Uxer.
He just stepped away.
Oh, is he here? Ms. Sanchez. Here. Dr. Graham. Here. Ms. Naheda is on her way, and Mr. Haggerty.
Here. Okay. Pam can read number 4.
We have no public comment. Item 5, discussion items. Item 5.1, Mr. Paulo Perez, Program Manager, ECM, will provide an update briefing on the progress of the Combined Fee Revenue Improvement Bonds Series 2016 program. Briefing items will include, but are not limited to, a general update including schedule and budget for all 6 projects, as well as an overall bond schedule and budget update.
Good afternoon. You're on.
All right.
Tell us what's going on.
So, good afternoon, Dr. Serrata, board members, Judge Haggerty. We'll start, there's no action items, by the way, in this session. We'll start with Rio Grande. And as you can tell, it looks pretty much finished. It's still missing the big EPCC letters there. We did see a mock-up. It was approved. Now they're actually going to try to block the street so they can put that logo up. This went a little too fast. Okay, so this area, it's almost complete. This is the Queen Anne house here. They right now they're missing a stone that they had to order it. Again, they had some of the stone arrived broken, so they had to order it. And they lack the landscaping and also lack the lights for the stairs and the area. And they still have to install the handrails, obviously. So here's a picture from the street level. As you can tell, everything is pretty much done. All they're doing here is painters doing some touch-up work. And here's the main entry. He already has the stone, but it does need to be grouted. And as you can tell, this is the seal, which looks very nice. So this is the south lobby, and the interior is off that courtyard, and it's almost complete. Needs a little bit of paint here, needs glass on the guardrails, and there's going to be some LED lighting up there, and eventually it will become, there'll be some art piece that goes into the ceiling, into the wall, that will enhance that area. On the right, there's 6th floor, the main conference room. On the left, 6th floor, the main student area. The main west corridor, as you can tell, pretty much all the architectural items are done. They do, like on the 7th floor, they're almost complete. There were some glass doors missing that they're installing. I'm sorry, I said 7th floor, I meant 6th floor. That they still need to complete. And there's the, on the left side, there's the career and technical education area. On the 7th floor, here's a picture of the sim corridor and just a typical sim exam room. So the just to remind everybody at the last meeting, I told you that Arrow didn't give us any dates. They basically we were not provided with any estimates. So we did develop a pretty good detailed study that David Rollins did with ECM, And we, at the time, estimated a substantial completion of September 27th. Subsequently, it took basically the fire marshal 4 weeks, and I'm not saying it was the fire marshal's fault at all. There was some issues with the fire sprinkler, and they didn't seem to be able to get it corrected, and it literally took 4 weeks. We finally got on September 14th, we got temporary CO for the fire sprinkler, and today they are supposed to be checking the fire alarm. If that passes, we should be able to get temporary occupancy that will allow us to have the furniture vendor start moving the furniture in, so that's a big benchmark right there. They are everything else, they are pretty far along, so we're being slightly cautious on the date we're giving you, but we're thinking that by October 22nd, they should be substantial completion. Of course, this is pending all the outstanding deliveries, because there was another issue that happened, is there's some deliveries they were planned and never happened, and some that happened, like I gave you an example a minute ago with the stone, like the stone came broken, so now they had to regroup and order the stone again. So there was just unfortunate events that pushed that temporary completion out there. So as far as our estimate, and I'd like to emphasize that when we're saying substantial completion on the 22nd, we don't mean ready to move in, including IT. So our plan right now is the IT electrical subs continue to perform their work. They are not complete, and but as soon as they are, EPCC will perform a punch list for that work. The IT and electrical subs will complete whatever items are in that punch list, and then we're hoping that EMS that's a separate contract, and but we're hoping that they will be able to start December 1st. If all those pieces fall into place, then there should not be a problem having classes in the spring semester. Again, I want to qualify that by saying that we are depending on the performance from the subs and Aero as well to get this work done. Valle, any questions on Rio Grande?
So I do have a question, sir. So then October 22nd is not really the time when we can expect that the building is ready for students?
Yes, ma'am. So October 22nd would be a contractual date. Would be since the IT work is really, if they're complete with that portion of the work, then we still need the EPCC to punch, and then we still need EPCC to do work. And only after that work is done, they can come back and do whatever network is necessary to get, like I said, the AV items, the security items, and all those other items. So I think you want to say something?
Well, if you may, Mel Herrera with ECM, and President, Chair of the Board. I want to explain a little bit of the process. This particular project has one more layer of complexity. Sorry. Has one or two more layers of complexity. So substantial completion has been defined as the brick and mortar completed with the contractor's IT portion complete. That's what we have been defining as substantial completion. What happens after that is EPCC IT comes and inspects and gives us a punch list, and then that punch list needs to be done by the contractor's IT group, subconsultant. After that is completed and EPCC IT signs off on it, then they have to do additional work themselves. They have to connect your computers. So that's a process that sometimes takes, well, it takes some time, right? And then after that, the EMS group, which is a provider of medical equipment that you guys have, EPCC has contracted with, is not part of Aero's contract. EMS needs to come in and then connect and program their equipment with everything ready. And so that's what the process is. And I don't think we've explained it thoroughly enough, perhaps. We even thought about having a slide, and maybe we should have it next time, where we have all these 4 or 5 steps that need to happen. We've been talking to IT and figure out if there's some IT here to see if we can do some things to expedite. And we have a working relationship, and it's a work in progress as to how we could potentially do some things here. But that's the process that I just explained is what's pushing this to January 15 or close to it. EMS is a company out of Philadelphia, and I think we've explained this before. They provide medical equipment to all the country, and they have a pretty full schedule, so we have to get them a slot. But to be able for them to come back, because they've been here already, come back and finish the work, every single thing needs to be ready. Like the IT needs to be connected, and everybody has to have, the IT available in all of the jacks. And that's a challenge that we're working through. And especially because the contractor hasn't finished the job. I mean, it's their fault. They haven't. We can get into some details, but they've ordered parts that have not arrived, that are on back order. They had to change one of the cables, and IT was gracious to be able to accept the change, to accelerate the delivery. So this is all a work in progress to be able to get it done. But the contractor is at fault here, that he's not providing the materials needed to complete the job. We're talking about cables, we're talking about conduits, about, what is this?
Inner duct.
Inner duct, which is another element. And these things are not being provided by the supplier. So that's why sometimes we go into the sites and there's not enough people working, because there's not enough parts to install, basically. And that's just what we're challenged with.
I guess my fear is if we're not going to be getting this building in a timely manner, how can we expect to be able to schedule the classes and it be ready to be used? And, I mean, we've delayed it so many times that, it just doesn't sound like you have a date when you can say by this date it's going to be done. I mean,
Well, I certainly don't, ma'am, and that's been a problem all along, and sometimes we've been perhaps naive enough to believe the contractors, or to believe that some things will fall into place, and they haven't been. Again, out of our control. We're not ordering parts, we're not buying anything. We just have a contract with you to manage projects. The contractors are buying equipment, they're providing the sub-consultants and all that. But one thing that we are looking at, we met with the ownership of Aero this week, and the college had a couple of representatives, Mr. Ruben Gallardo and Mr. Rick Lobato attended that meeting at our office, and we basically conveyed the idea to them that we're in a major pickle. I mean, and this is really making everyone lose. The whole community is losing by the lack of performance, and we asked for assurances, and we asked for this and that. They came back with their answer, right? That they ordered this particular part and that it hasn't arrived, and therefore they haven't been able to finish, so on and so forth. They're non-committal, and that's why they don't provide us a schedule update. And so what we're giving you sometimes is our best understanding if things fall into place, and then when they don't fall into place, when the part doesn't arrive to El Paso, because we cannot go and get it. We cannot rent a 18-wheeler and go to the factory and bring it for them, you see. It's part of our challenge, right? It's like if you have ordered a car and you're waiting for that car and it's not being manufactured right now. It's sort of a similar dilemma. But what we're saying now is we're hoping and we're pushing and we're in conversations with everybody involved to have it ready.
Now, let me ask you, have you all verified that they have ordered those pieces or parts and that they have told them no, they don't have them available? And is there another vendor that they can go to? I mean, because your reputation's on the line as well as theirs, you know, that this is something obviously that the college hired you all to manage this, to make sure that it was done in a timely manner. And we are way behind the times, as you well know.
Yes, ma'am.
So how do you verify, like in another scenario, in another project, how would you all have handled this?
Well,
when the contract goes the way that this one
We do, ma'am. We do, and if you wanted to see the documentation, we could produce it for you. I mean, we have weekly meetings with the contractor, and again, your representatives attend that as well, and many of the deans attend the particular projects, and we go one by one item. We have specific discussions about materials ordered, about submittals that have not been approved because there's an issue of different materials, about RFIs where there's a dispute or a question about the drawings. We go one by one and we look at all of them. And again, we do also ask about those deliveries, and we get a response in writing, and we have all those things. Again, it would take us a long time to produce all that for you, but we do have it.
Well, I actually don't want you to produce all of that. I want you to produce the results. We are counting on you all to deliver this.
Noted.
Okay, thank you, Mel. Going on to Valle Verde, so we did have a meeting, warranty meeting on 8/19, and a good thing that in this project is we do have a 3-year warranty, which is pretty uncommon in today's business construction. So we did meet with the contractor spent money. I prepared this presentation on Sunday and distributed to the college on Sunday. So there's been some events since then. On Monday, ECM sat down with the IT subcontractor and the contractor, and we went over all the items produced by EPCC IT. There were 96 of them. It was a very long meeting. And we actually determined that despite them telling us that they were ready, they were not indeed ready, particularly on the side, not so much on the IT side, but on the electrical side. So the electrical sub and the IT sub are going to continue addressing some of the comments, and the electrical sub will carry on some of those through next week. So basically, we requested in writing something from the contractor to let us know when they're ready for ECM to start back checking some of those IT items. So, any questions on Valle Verde?
So do you have an idea when that's going to be done? All complete?
Well, we certainly need to have all this done by the spring, and so at this point, if they're done with addressing all the comments by the middle of next week, then it will be up to EPCC IT to do their portion of the work. Typically, we find that some of those items, they say they're done, they're not done, and that's part of the reason we're actually back checking some of these lists. But if that's the case, if everything goes smooth, and then it should be I would say by the end of November, we should be able to have IT. But again, this is based on other people's that ECM has no control over. So at this point, that will be our best estimate.
So when will that building be ready for students?
Excuse me?
So when will that be ready for students to come in?
For the spring semester. And I'll go over the calendar in just a little while, and you'll get an opportunity to see it. Right now, basically what we're saying is we should be ready for the spring semester, both for Rio Grande and Valle Verde. Going on change orders, again, and I know I'm repeating myself, I say this at every meeting, just because there's 0 original change orders doesn't mean there's going to be 0 change orders. Right now, the change orders are basically taking a back seat, and all the priority is getting work done. So a lot of these change orders, thank goodness, the contractor has proceeded even as some of these things are we're still working out on pricing. As far as the hours worked, 945,713, that is a great success story in terms of safety. And here's the calendar. So right now we're saying, again, Valle Verde and Rio Grande, spring 2022, including IT. And as far as the bond budget, we're still doing pretty well. We're at a point right now that we feel pretty confident that unless something totally unexpected comes up, we should be just fine in terms of the budget. This hasn't changed anything from the last meeting, and that concludes our presentation. Any questions? All right, thank you for your time.
Well, thank you for the
Yes, I
update.
do have one question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rader? Mr. Rader, I don't,
Oh, okay,
I
Fee.
don't mean to butt into your business, but are you familiar with CPM?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would suggest that you do 2 things if you ever bid on a project again. Number 1, you get a CPM method out and schedule it. You're going through a lot of they told me whatever. And the second thing is you get a contract that specifies delivery dates and times, expected dates and times for each project, because each one of these says, well, we didn't know and this didn't happen and they don't know and they told us. Yep, I don't mean to tell you what your business, but in your next contract, when you have subcontractors and delivery, then you specify in there, this is an expected date. I don't see that. And then plug that in your CPM. We wouldn't be looking at all this delays on the last minute if we didn't have a CPM saying, oh, wait a minute, because this guy's in Philadelphia, and if we don't get it by this date, we could be delayed a month, or if we have this. And that's just a comment, but I do think that, there's something called the principle of 6 Ps. It's something that we learned at New Mexico State. It's called prior planning prevents pretty poor performance. But if you'll get CPM, you actually work a CPM module, then we wouldn't have these ongoing times and pushing back and pushing back. I know that you'll do that, but our evidence here is that you haven't got CPM down to where it can give you the tools that you can come in here and say, wait a minute, here's this. Number 1, you can keep us informed, and number 2, you can put pressure at the right time on your subs.
Doctor,
just
let me,
just a comment.
if I may respond. Contractually, we're not doing a CPM. That is the contractor's responsibility. I just want to make clear that we're not the contractor here. We don't have any subcontractors. We don't have any subcontractors with IT. We don't have any subcontractors with concrete masonry. We're your representatives.
I
The
understand that.
CPM, the CPM is part of the contractor's responsibility, and it's in the contract. And they do have one. Obviously, they don't know how to manage it, and that is a big problem with most local contractors here in town. But we are not responsible for their schedule, and we're not doing their schedule.
I guess I didn't make myself clear. I understand they have CPM. I'm suggesting that you construct your own CPM when you make that, and use for your own internal. It doesn't have to be contractual, but it keeps you track of how they are tracked. You're depending on somebody else doing their CPM and their contracts.
All right, noted.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's it. We don't have any, no executive. Okay. So do I have a motion for adjournment of this meeting?
Adjourn.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Aye. We are adjourned till the board meeting starts at 5 o'clock.